Hello students, welcome to this second lesson on the course of gender sensitization, and today I am going to talk about gender roles in the family. All of us know that the roles refer to the social and behavioral norms that are considered to be socially appropriate for individuals within a specific culture. Gender roles are often determined by traditional tasks and responsibilities which are assigned to both men and women. So, gender roles become more assigned based on sex, societal values, beliefs, and gender then becomes very important, and family plays a major role in deciding what these roles are. When we talk of what is the expectations about behavior of men and women, why is it that it is these values are something which are transmitted from one generation to other. You must have seen, in families there are certain roles which women perform, other roles which men perform, and by and large women have always had a secondary role in families. They are supposed to take care of the household. They are taught to be very loyal to their husbands, and throughout history we find that gender roles are very much influenced by society, and they are perpetuated in the family. We find that according to tradition, these roles are something which are taught in the family. Girls are expected to know them so that they grow up, when they marry, they have children, they will pass on these roles to their families. In fact, children get their first lesson in social life from their parents, and this is done in the family. Girls are always encouraged to develop skills such as cooking and sewing, whereas boys are encouraged to do well in studies, be good in sports, become strong, intelligent and independent, and they have to support the family. But we don't encourage these kinds of roles for the girls. So we have to understand that gender roles are conceived and taught, and they are enacted in a very complex set of relationship within the family and from family at society at large, and it determines what are the expectations from both men and women. Now when we look at not only India, the whole South Asian region, it is a civilization which is more than 5,000 years old. It has hosted so many cultures. There have been so many wars which were fought. It's been a site of political turmoil. And yet, what is really important as far as South Asian region is concerned, the family continues to be very strong. Today this region has, though many of the countries in this region experience colonialism, many of these countries gained independence after 1940s, and they have not been able to keep pace with the development of capitalism in the world. What we find today is a lot of economic growth, but along with this you also have illiteracy and backwardness. Now what is very interesting about this is, on one hand there is modernization and also because of globalization, and yet the hold of traditional values and culture over people and families, which is very patriarchal, is very much there. And you can really see this in the family. Family members have different powers in the family relationship depending on their gender, roles and status. In this family oriented culture, interdependence is valued more than independence. Personal goals and wishes are expected to be subordinate to those of the family. And earlier, most of the families were joint families. They are now becoming nuclear and extended families. But by and large, they continue to be patriarchal families. And today, when you look at the family, especially in India, there are so many issues with which we are facing. You have a decline in sex ratio, there is early marriage. increase in gender violence, and there is so much of child labor in many families when they are not economically well off. And what we find is globalization has created two distinct worlds in the family structure. You have one world of the haves and the other is the have nots, and the gap is really increasing. We need a world and a new approach, that supports the family as an institution which is based on equality, love and respect, rather than the power and privilege of men and boys and the weakness and subservience ascribed to girls. But the family continues to be a very important institution. It can nurture, it can also empower, it can help you to be strong. There is a very important saying that when all the doors close, the door of the family is the only door that remains open. See, you can always get back to the family any time. So, in the families where we see it is only women who are taking care of the children, they are managing the household duties, and by and large men are going outside the house, they are providers for the family. And this kind of a thinking continues in the mindset of many men, though today the roles have changed. Many women are also going out, they are also working, but their role in the family has not really changed, because we continue to expect women to stay at home. In fact, in my own work in the call centers, many of these girls are working in call centers, they wake throughout the night, they were not able to contribute anything to the family from Monday to Friday. But when it came to Saturday and Sunday, when they had a holiday, the family expected them to go back into the routine, cook and take care of the children. So, what is very important is we have to recognize that the roles of women are today changing, and therefore the family also has to change its ideology. Yes, family is there to feed, clothe, care and shelter, and by and large most of the women feel responsible for all the work. And we find that the family becomes the provider. It takes care not only of the elderly but also of the children. It guides them. And the impact of family on gender roles and identity is very important. In fact, the whole environment which is there in the family, it plays a very integral role to the development of a child's sense of self, in which the both boy or girl grow up. And this family environment plays a very important role in shaping the identities of children as they grow into adolescent, they become adults. And the better work, environment in a family, those children will be, citizens which will be valued, they will be able to contribute to our society. So, we have to really move away from these kinds of traditional roles where only house chores are given to women, caregiving is given to women. See, the family should be the responsibility of both men and women. They should both be, share in this, take part in it, because women are also now taking part in the outside world. They are also becoming bosses, they are also holding influential positions in society. And therefore, what is really very important is that today, at the dawn of modernization, at the dawn of globalization, we need to bring in a new kind of family system where the responsibility is of everyone. See, after all, men and boys are also eating, and they should also contribute to that. Why is it that cleaning the house, washing the vessels, taking care of children is only the responsibility of women? Look at festivals. What happens in festival? It is mostly women who spend all their time in the kitchen. Every day also they are involved in cooking and all. On a festival you have to cook much more. So the problem today is, while we are moving towards modernization, women have changed their roles. They are moving into new directions. They are also going out and working. They are also contributing, and yet the roles in the family are not changing. We need to really teach our sons right from the beginning. to do housework, saying that, housework is something which is very important. This is something which is very important even if you look at the census data. Earlier, what happened? They would go into a house and they would ask a woman, what do you do? And women also internalize a lot of the values, and they say, oh, I do nothing. Why do women say I do nothing? Then you ask them, who does the cooking? Who does the cleaning? Oh, it's I do. Who does the washing of clothes? I do. And yet, many of the men will say that, they don't do anything, because economists have told us that work is something for which you get paid. So, if a woman is going out and teaching in a college or a university, she gets a salary, that is work. But if she is teaching her own children in the family, that is not work. If a woman goes out and cooks in someone else's house and she gets a salary, that is work. But what if she is cooking in her own house for her children? After all, that's her duty. So, these concepts have to be changed. And it had a lot of impact even in the census data, because when they asked a large number of these women what they do, they said, oh, I do nothing. And they would take nothing, nothing, nothing. And there were a few women who were engineers, few women who are doctors, teachers. And then when you look at the gross national product of our country, there are so many women and they contribute nothing. Hardly 15 to 20% women are contributing. So there was a big demand from the women's movement, and they changed the question. If you remember the last census, they do not ask a woman, what do you do? They ask a woman, how does she spend her time? And she says, okay, so many hours I do cooking, so many hours I do cleaning. And then that is calculated as to the contribution of women. So, we need to have these new kinds of understanding, new kinds of concept. But one thing we should remember, that the family is a unit where, the next generation grows up, we pass on our values and our tradition. And it should not just be the burden of women. Look at all the vrats, look at everything. By and large, it is only women who carry on these traditions. It is something which the family should share. Men should also change their roles in the family. And only then, we will be able to have new kinds of role, and the family will move towards a family where there is gender justice and equality. Thank you.